Welcome to the History Informer. This is a new style of video that I am going to be calling History Tidbits. These are going to be short videos about historical events, places, and people. This video, like all future videos, will be available on Patreon first, a week before it lands onto YouTube. Your support there is greatly appreciated. Now on to the video. The Dearborn Historical Museum is in West Dearborn on Michigan Avenue and is located in the old Detroit Arsenal buildings. The museum is composed of four main buildings: the Commandant's Quarters, the Powder Magazine, which is also known as the Ross McFadden House, an old hotel, and the Gardner House. The Detroit Arsenal was established in 1833 and operated by the United States Army until 1875. It was established as a source of supplies and weapons maintenance on the frontier regions in the 1800s. Most of the buildings that comprise of the original armory complex were torn down after the buildings were sold to private owners. The Commandant's Quarters was used as a police station, school, and housed community meetings until the 1950s, when the city of Dearborn and the Dearborn Historical Society converted it into the Dearborn Historical Museum. The other building in the museum is the Ross McFadden House, also known as the Powder Magazine. After the Arsenal was sold in 1875, somebody had the bright idea to convert it into a house. Now, why somebody chose to buy that building, then build it into a house to raise a family in that used to hold explosives is beyond my thinking. But Nathaniel Ross was the individual who bought it, and his family lived in that house until 1950, when the last member of the family who lived there donated it to the Dearborn Historical Society. Now the building is used as the museum's main archival storage area and an event space. On the grounds surrounding the McFadden Ross House, there are static displays of farming equipment and an arsenal well that was rediscovered after a cave-in on the grounds in the 1960s. The well itself is 19 feet deep and contains water to this day. The museum's office and on-site storage of artifacts that are too big to fit into the archives, like cars and old wagons, is located in an old motel located right across from the parking lot of the old Powder Magazine. The other building that is part of the Dearborn Historical Museum is the Gardner House, which is believed to be one of the oldest buildings still standing in Dearborn, being built sometime in the 1830s by the Gardner family. The Gardner family were family friends of the Ford family, which is why the house was preserved by Henry Ford in the 1920s, when it was originally moved to the Henry Ford Museum. It stayed at the Henry Ford Museum until the 1990s, when it was moved to its present location and donated to the Dearborn Historical Museum. About 30 years ago, the museum had on display two Native American skeletons that were taken from a local burial mound in Dearborn. While they were on display, a local Native American tribe came forward and claimed that the skeletons were most likely stolen from a burial mound in the 1950s and demanded that the skeletons be repatriated. Despite the museum curator promising that he would repatriate the skeletons, that did not happen, because in 2015, a volunteer discovered the skeletons in an attic space above the archives. And it even gets better because it turns out there wasn't just 2 skeletons, there was actually 3 skeletons in the attic. So later on in the year, an official repatriation ceremony was performed and the skeletons were returned to a local tribe for reburial. The Dearborn Historical Museum is open for tours every day and is well worth the visit. For more information about the Dearborn Museum, click on the link in the description down below. Thank you for watching. Please like, share, subscribe, and donate to the Patreon page to support me. And I'll see you next time on The History Informer.